There we go. Here's the recording starting right now. So if you have questions and you don't have time to ask them throughout, don't worry. You can always email us afterwards, and we'll also send you a recording of this webinar as well. So that way, you can always look back too. So that being said, what you're going to need for the webinar today, you can have a notepad if you'd like, but it's not totally necessary because we'll be sending you this recording. But for email marketing, you're going to need a place to store your contacts and group them, as well as an email marketing tool. In today's presentation, we'll be using Less Annoying CRM for storing contacts and MailChimp as our email marketing program. Some of the folks here today are already LACRM users, and some of you will be checking out the CRM for the first time. Less Annoying CRM is a contact relationship manager, so it can help us group and organize our contacts. And we'll talk about some other handy features related to email marketing throughout the webinar. You can use a lot of different tools and programs for email marketing, but we've chosen MailChimp very specifically because it is an email marketing tool made for small businesses. And they include a free tier that is perfect for folks just getting started with email marketing. I know a lot of you emailed in before, when I send you guys the confirmation for today, that you were looking for an easy way to do email marketing, exactly the right tools, and at a very affordable price. MailChimp is definitely that tool. Less Annoying CRM also syncs with MailChimp, so it makes maintaining your email lists and tracking your communications really easy. However, most of what we're showing you today can be accomplished with another email marketing program, such as Constant Contact or ConvertKit. It just might come at a price, and it won't include syncing with Less Annoying CRM, which is why we're kind of focusing on MailChimp today. Signing up for an account with Less Annoying CRM and MailChimp takes less than 5 minutes total, and we'll email you links to both programs, including a whole bunch of information touching on our conversation today after the webinar. All right, so let's start off with building your email marketing strategy. Before we get into the nitty-gritty here, I want to emphasize the importance of planning, but also the importance of getting things done. One of Less Annoying CRM's New Year's resolutions was to spend less time planning and more time doing. You can plan a brilliant email marketing strategy, but if you never implement it, it can't help you. So today, let's focus on sending your first email to a single audience. If you could reach out to someone, a customer, a prospect, a new connection, what would you say? Let's start off with the why. Why are you interested in email marketing? Aside from the importance of it, what brought you to this course? Are you trying to generate new leads after a conference or a trade show, nurture prospects and folks in your pipeline, or stay front of mind with current customers? Other ideas include pushing new products or updates to subscribers, following up with folks with abandoned carts, or sending out reminders for yearly sales, deals, or discounts. There are a million reasons to start with email marketing, but pick out your main goal today. Feel free to share your goals with us. We'd love to know the specifics of your plan, so please send them to Eunice. With Less Annoying CRM, we knew lots of people were visiting our website and blog, but we didn't have a way to follow up with them. So we created a newsletter to collect their contact information. We also invited our current users to subscribe as well to get regular tips and tricks and product updates. Now our newsletter serves a few purposes. We help our prospects find the perfect CRM and help our current customers stay engaged and up to date on the product. So if you're struggling to figure out your top goal with email marketing, look at your data and figure out where the bottlenecks in your sales processes are. If you're using Less Annoying CRM, you can use your pipeline data to calculate how many new leads you are adding each month, what percentage of those convert, and what percentage of those customers come back or remain customers. So for example, you might be getting lots of leads, but you're failing to convert them into customers. In this case, your goal might be to nurture your prospects through an email marketing sequence. If you're not sure how to calculate your conversion rate, don't worry, we're going to send you a tutorial on that. Now that you have a goal for email marketing, it's time to figure out the details. Who exactly are you emailing? There are broad categories such as everyone that you met in an event, current customers or prospects, but you may want to get even more specific. As we discussed earlier, segmenting your emails and tailoring them to your recipient will help increase open rates. So that's when people open your emails, email engagement, so when they click through or reply to them, and even conversion rates. So people becoming your customers as a result of this email. In Less Annoying CRM, you can create a group for every kind of person you want to email. Contacts can be members of multiple groups, so you might have a contact in your folks interested in product A group, and you might have, different groups for each kind of product that you have. At Less Annoying CRM, we have two main segments for our newsletter: current users and non-users. But we also track data on whether or not someone has ever used us, or if they are totally new to the platform and are interested in general CRM advice. This will help us tailor our email marketing down the road and send targeted emails based on where someone is in our funnel. And again, this is focusing on what we need now versus our long-term goal. You know what I mean? We're starting to gather data and work towards that. But the point is to just get something started, which is why we have our current newsletter. I'd suggest making groups for any segment that you might want to email. Building those lists now will help you down the road, like I just said, when you're ready to expand your email marketing strategy. So if you can think of 3 to 4 groups that you'd like to market to, jot those down now. Okay, and I'm going to show you a tutorial today about syncing your contacts with MailChimp. Okay, so right now you'll see on the left-hand side, that's going to be MailChimp open, and on the right-hand side, I have the CRM for folks who have never seen that before. So I've created some groups in the CRM, so I'll hover my mouse over the Find a Contact page here, and I've got 2 groups right now. I've got my client group. That's a group of clients that I have in the CRM, and then I also have my webinar attendee email list. So this is just a fake list of people here. And you'll see that I added a tag there next to that group. It says email list. That's just so I know that it's syncing to MailChimp. So if you have lots of lists syncing to MailChimp, or you plan on making a couple groups, it can be helpful to have that tag. And so you'll see on this page right now, I have the contacts and the companies in my webinar attendee email list pulled up. And I'm going to go ahead and sync those with MailChimp. So I'm going to go to settings here. I'm going to go and click on Set up Email Marketing Integration. And if you've never set up that integration before, it's going to ask you to log into MailChimp and set that sync up. Since I've already set that up, it just says Manage My Linked Groups here. So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to ask me to configure my list. And this is how it would look as well. Right after you signed into MailChimp, we'll take you back to this page. And it's going to have that MailChimp list name. So I only have one list in my MailChimp account, the webinar email course, and then the LICRM group name. So I've matched that to the webinar attendee email list. But let's say you have some lists in MailChimp you don't want to sync to the CRM, or groups that you're not syncing over yet. I can always just move that to Do Not Sync. And so I'll go ahead and save these settings and get started syncing. It's going to just give me a quick warning here about how our sync works. And I highly recommend that you read this. I know things pop up and people don't like to read them all the time, but we only show you the really important stuff in these pop-ups. So please read through that. And I'm going to click Yes, continue with that sync. And now the sync is complete. I have all that information here about how that integration works. And then you'll see on the left-hand side, I have 9 folks in my email course on MailChimp. I've got that webinar email course at the top there. And then here are all the folks who are in my CRM from before. And you'll see it says that they've subscribed, and it'll tell me how it comes into the CRM. Okay, awesome. So now that I've shown y'all how to do that, let's take a pause right here. So Eunice, are there any questions cropping up right now?
No questions so far. We've had some feedback on what people want to use email marketing for, predominantly to just nurture prospects, to kind of follow them down the road, to kind of convert them into clients here.
Okay, awesome. Nurture prospects. Great. I am writing that down so I can hit up on that later in the webinar. One last thing to say here too about that sync is that if you add someone to a group in the CRM, or if somebody signs up for your MailChimp list via like a MailChimp sign-up form, they have those. That's a 2-way sync. So someone in the CRM will push to MailChimp. Somebody in MailChimp will push to the CRM. If someone unsubscribes, they'll be taken out of that group in the CRM. But your contacts will still be there. So I thought it was important to follow up on the exacts of how that works. So now that your subscribers are all ready to go, let's create your content. Depending on who you're emailing and why, there are a few different forms your content might take. So you might want to send monthly newsletters with regular tips and tricks to nurture those prospects, like we talked about, or even retain current customers. You might want to create a series of emails to send every new prospect. That's called a drip campaign, and another way that you can nurture those prospects, again, with some very targeted emails, a sequence, what you want them to do. You can send welcome emails, a quick follow-up after an event, recent blog posts, updates on deals and discounts, reminders for abandoned carts, and much, much more. So feel free to send Eunice details about the kinds of emails you plan on creating today. So again, we know it's mostly about nurturing those prospects, but how you want to do it is up to you. And we can talk about specifics during the Q&A. Plus, we'll send you details about the kinds of emails that are possible with MailChimp in our follow-up email course. So no matter what kind of email you plan on sending, there are some do's and don'ts, and we'll go over the most common pitfalls and the ways to avoid them. So the first thing here, you should make your email packed with value. It should give the reader something that they didn't have before: a piece of advice, a tip, a freebie, access to an ebook, a webinar, or any other piece of valuable content. You want your reader to feel smart for having opened your email, not annoyed that they got yet another piece of spam asking them to click here and buy something. So for example, in our emails, we always include product updates, new blog posts and tutorials, and extra freebies like special training seminars and even webinars like this one. So this brings us to your first hurdle to getting people to open your email: subject lines. Your subject line should answer the question, why should I open this email? What value am I getting for your audience? So put that value proposition in your subject line so that readers know exactly what they are missing out on if they never open your email or immediately mark it as read. So other subject line tips, you can tag the beginning of your subject line so that readers can easily search for past newsletters in their inbox. For example, we tag all of our newsletters with CRM tips. So that way people know what they're getting, and so they can easily search in their inboxes for past newsletters. We also include a brief preview of this edition's content in the subject line. We put the main article or update first so that people are excited to open the email. And we're actually running a test on which kinds of subject lines work best for our readers. We'll show you how to run a test like this yourself as well. Okay. In general, you're going to want to keep your subject line short, simple, and clear. Don't use clickbait, misspellings, or all caps to catch someone's attention. It's not going to work. And we're going to show you a couple example emails right now so that you can sort of see the difference between a good email and something that is a little bit more spammy. So let's talk about the anatomy of a good email first. This email is from a boutique and luxury hotel company, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. First, they have a specific audience, adults with wanderlust and a desire for luxury travel. In their emails, they start off with a personalized greeting, Dear Christopher in this case. We'll show you how to do that with your own emails later. And the email is from specific people, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Whether they are real or not doesn't matter. The email's cheeky. Content makes it feel funny and personal, like a friend is giving you good advice. And they also include a single relevant graphic that makes you want to click on one of their links to explore more. The graphic isn't, lousy or unrelated to the content. And their call to action is really subtle, but it's effective. They aren't asking you to book anything today. They're just asking you to take a look and get inspired. So let's look at some other emails you could send. You can let your subscribers know about an upcoming event in their area or an online meetup. You can send out your latest piece of content in a simple, short email like this one from Groove. There aren't any graphics. It's just from the CEO, and it includes a couple links that people can click on, including a call to action for sharing that post. Or you can stay front of mind with an update about your company, store, or blog. There are 1,000,001 types of emails you can send. I can't say that enough, and these are just a few. MailChimp and marketing blogs across the internet have templates, ideas, and examples to share as well. So if you need more inspiration, feel free to go ahead and Google, travel agent emails or consulting emails, that kind of thing, and you should see some examples. Now it's time to think about what you have to offer your audience and how you can make your email worth their time. what is your value proposition, and go ahead and send that to Eunice. You can send a subject line or a value prop, and we can review some of your ideas at the end of the call. Okay, so to piggyback on our last point, the opposite of an awesome, valuable email that you can't wait to read is spam. We've all had it in our inboxes and spam folders, and it sucks. If too many people mark your emails as spam, your account with MailChimp could be permanently closed. So the easiest solution here is to be clear about why you're emailing someone and give them an easy way to unsubscribe. MailChimp takes care of this for you by providing an unsubscribe button and a section for why am I receiving this email for your audience to read in case they aren't sure how they ended up on your list. We'll send you MailChimp's top tips for avoiding spam filters and being marked as spam to help you out. But the other important thing to keep in mind here is if you're sending unsolicited bulk emails, so you didn't ask them if you can send them and you're sending them in bulk, that's the legal definition of spam. So it's kind of easy to keep in mind. So now that we've looked at the great emails, let's go ahead and take a look at some spam emails. So this is an example spam emails. It's aggressive, has all caps, and the subject is a plea for a free consultation. There are spelling errors, it looks careless, and it isn't personalized at all. Plus there are weird colors and graphics that make it look like cheap spam and not a tailored email meant specifically for you or me. I don't think anybody would respond to this email. Another kind of spam that we wanted to show you guys is kind of the innocuous update. So we talk about just sending updates to your subscribers to stay front of mind, but check out this email that we received on the 4th. It's from a do not reply address. There is no message, no value, just a graphic from the internet about the 4th of July. And while this is, a company's innocuous or nice way of staying front of mind, it doesn't really do that in a positive way for me. It's not personal to me. I'm not even sure how I ended up on this list. It doesn't invite a dialogue. I can't reply, and there's no call to action, and I don't receive any value from it. Which brings us to our third point. This is a really simple tip, but personalize your emails. Personalizing emails improves click-through rates like we talked about earlier and conversions, so you'll get more eyeballs on your emails and more cash in your pocket. So there are a few ways to personalize your emails. You can send them from a real person, that's you, at an address that anyone can reply to. You want to engage your audience and speak directly to them, not send them a message from a faceless company to whomever this may concern. So we do this with our drip campaign for new subscribers. They receive emails from a specific CRM coach that they can use as their point person going forward. And we're working on doing this with our CRM tips newsletter as well. Once we're through with that current subject test I talked about earlier, we'll be testing out sending our newsletters from a specific person rather than our whole support team. So you might see that in your inbox coming soon. So since your email is ending up in this particular person's inbox, you'll have their name as well as their email address synced over from the CRM. And you can further personalize your email with merge tags. So I've been bringing this up throughout the webinar, but this is really important. Merge tags let you include personalized information such as the reader's name in each email. And of course, segmenting is another way of personalizing things as well. So if you're sending a targeted email to a current customer, refer to them as your customer in the email. We do this with our newsletter. Current customers get LACRM specific content, whereas non-users get content about onboarding or searching for a CRM. Okay. So now that your reader has seen your email, opened it, and read everything inside, now what? Ideally, what would you like your reader to do? The obvious answer here is buy my goods and services, but if it takes a bit of time to nurture your prospects and they usually aren't ready to buy after their first touch, let's focus on the next step in your process. Do you want them to sign up for a free consultation, attend a webinar or a workshop, or just simply email you about one of their concerns or pain points, and you'll promise to respond to their email? Any of these work as a call to action, or a CTA as we call them. The important thing to remember here is that if you want your reader to do something, just ask. And in a lot of cases, people will answer your call. Like I emailed all of you guys after you signed up for this webinar asking for the specifics about what you were looking for. And a lot of people replied to me and we had a dialogue. It got people excited about the webinar, and it also helped me figure out what do I need to prepare for these specific people. What strategies are they looking for? So just make sure to be realistic about what your audience is ready for. So maybe not buying, but starting a free trial or signing up for a free consultation, or even just having a conversation may yield more follow-ups and qualified prospects. We always include a few CTAs in each email. We'll ask folks to click on a blog post to read more, contact customer support if they need help, or even start a free trial if they're ready. So we use MailChimp's tools to see what links are most popular. So that way we know, okay, this call to action is working really well, or this one isn't, so maybe we shouldn't include that in our next blog post. The tip here is also to take a look at your pipeline for a CTA. If the next step in your process in your pipeline isn't to ask somebody to buy right away, but it's to schedule an appointment with them, maybe that's what your call to action should be as well. So you've got your first email ready to go, so let's cover a few more do's and don'ts. First, make sure that you let your reader know that there is more coming. Don't send them every single good piece of advice in your first email. You'll overload your reader and they won't have any incentive to continue reading. Maybe you'll ask them about pain points and promise to reveal a solution in the next email, or you're promising them exclusive content. Tease whatever is coming next. If you're using an email marketing tool like MailChimp, you'll get data on open rates, click rates, and even subscriber activity like I just talked about. Don't ignore this data. Use it to optimize the way you send your emails. With MailChimp, you can easily perform an A/B or split test on a regular basis. Split testing is when you compare two variables and see which performs better. With email marketing, there are a million variables to test, such as when you send your email, subject lines, calls to action, and more. I told you about our current A/B test, but we keep a list of other A/B tests that we'd like to run. The basic thing to understand here is that things can always be improved. So even if something is working, and I say that in quotes, you can always improve it. Finally, and I keep bringing this up in this webinar, but I really, really do mean it, don't let your dream email marketing strategy stop you from starting. Join the Less Annoying CRM team in cutting down on excessive planning and just do it. The only way to know if a newsletter will work is to try. So you can and should apply best practices, but beyond that, get started and then get to tweaking and testing. Okay, so our next tutorial here is going to be about actually building that campaign in MailChimp. So now we'll be looking at my MailChimp account right now, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started here with creating a new email. So I'm going to click on Create Campaign here in the upper right-hand corner. That's just to go ahead and get started. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Create Email here. I'm going to choose a campaign name. Only I'm going to see this. My subscribers are not going to see this. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this Webinar Number 1 Follow-Up. And I'm going to click Begin. And we're just starting with a regular campaign. There are lots of others that you can send, but we're just starting with the basics here. So now it's going to ask me to choose who I want to send this to. I'm deciding to send it to the webinar email course. That's my only list on this account, but I can also send it to a different list. It's going to give me that recipient count there. And then I'm going to go to the setup page. And this has a lot of really important info on it, so it's very important to pay attention to this page. We've got my campaign name, which I've already filled out. Then we have that email subject line. So I might put in here, thanks for attending the webinar. And then I can put in some preview text here, and I'm going to send you guys everything you need to know to send your first email. And this preview text is going to show up after that subject in everybody's inbox. And as the from name, that's Julia, a real person. The from email address, everyone could reply to that. And then here on the right-hand side of the page, I'm going to personalize that to field. And this is that merge tag I was talking about earlier. So now if I put this into my email, that asterisk F name, that's going to make it so that the first name of the person in my list is going to appear instead of that, that merge tag. So now I'm going to go to our next page here and select a template. There are a lot of different templates in MailChimp, and I encourage you to look at all of the various templates that we have here. There are a lot of different kinds, and they even have themes, and you can code your own if you guys know HTML. But I'm just going to start off with a template that I saved before this today. And that's one for this particular webinar here. So now we're on the page where we get to design our email, which is kind of the fun part. So you'll see at the top that I have that picture. It says Less Annoying CRM. I have the body of the email itself. And if I wanted to add more information from the right-hand side here, I can drag in more text box, or I can add in images, that kind of thing. You'll see too here that at the bottom I have that call to action. And I'm kind of hovering over that right now, as well as links to all of our social sites. So that's kind of the anatomy of a simple, really easy to use email. But once I have this email and I've read it and proofreaded it on this page, it's important to preview and test it as well. So you'll see that in the upper right-hand corner here, it says preview and test in this navigation bar. I can click on this drop-down and I can enter preview mode. That lets me see this email as if it were on someone's desktop, as well as on their mobile. And it's really important to check out mobile. We were surprised when we realized that most of our readers for our newsletter were reading it on mobile as well. So you'd be shocked at how many people read things on mobile. You can also send a test email. So I'm going to go ahead here and open this up, and you'll see that I already have my email address and Eunice's email address here. We are offering to let you guys send us your emails before you send them. So if you want to go ahead and send Eunice and I a test, you can even include a piece of information here. You might say, "Hi guys, I'm worried about merge tags and my use of highlights. Let me know what you think." And then you can go ahead and send that to us, and Eunice and I will respond to it and give you your feedback. So that email is already on its way to us right now. There are a couple of other preview and test tools that you can use over here, and we'll send you an email after this webinar as well to tell you all the various ways that you can check over your information. So the final thing we're going to go ahead and look at here is I'm going to click confirm right here, and that's going to take me to our confirmation page. You'll see that all the major information for your webinar is on this page. Again, I can't tell you enough. Just go ahead and read through everything. There is no harm in double checking and proofreading. So you can see your list, how many recipients are there, subject line, so on and so forth. And if I scroll down here too, it's going to let me choose to send my email right now. So if I want to send it immediately, maybe it's after an event, I can do that. Or I can go ahead and schedule it. So that means I'm sending it for a later date. So in this case, you might want to schedule out campaigns in advance, like I did for your webinar email reminder this morning. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead here and bop back to this page. One last thing to explain too about MailChimp is that after you send out that campaign, wait a few days and then take a look back at MailChimp, and you'll start to see analytics about how your campaign went. These analytics are going to be things like who clicked on what in your email, how many people unsubscribed after that email, all of that good stuff. So be sure to check on that data in MailChimp. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do here before questions, and I promise we will get to them, is putting it all together. So before this webinar, I went ahead and emailed all of you guys asking about your strategies, and I got a couple common ones from you guys. So I'm going to go over those potential strategies today. Okay, so for example, let's say that you are in sales, and a lot of your products or services, and a lot of you guys sell products or services, and sometimes you have a wide offering from different manufacturers or sellers, that kind of thing. So you want to be better about reaching out to past customers and keeping them engaged so that they become repeat customers. So how can you do this? You can segment your contacts by what people are interested in. So let's say that you offer 3 products or 3 different types of products. You can create 3 groups in Less Annoying CRM for each product and what people are interested in, and then send each group targeted emails about the kinds of products and services they are interested in. So you can send related discounts and upsells, cross-sells, all that good stuff as well. And these emails will bring value to your customers because they like your products and want to stay in the know, and you'll be offering something that they can't get elsewhere. Either it's your specific recommendations, your advice, tips on how to maximize the use of the products they love, deals, discounts, and more. Another really common one that you guys emailed in about was consulting. Consultants have 2 main audiences, past clients and leads, but we're going to focus on leads in this example. Leads can be people who either did an initial consult with you and simply dropped off somewhere in the process, or people who have expressed interest in your services, but you guys haven't set anything up yet. So you want to stay front of mind and follow up with them regularly so that you can convert them into clients. So in this case, you can send your leads regular email blasts, giving them tips that address their pain points and special offers for your services. These emails can have a very personal tone. Imagine you're speaking to your leads one-on-one and giving them a mini consultation. So for example, if you're a life coach, you might send personal emails discussing your journey and a relevant tip to your readers that they can try at home. You'll also want to include offers to work with your clients on their pain points or special seminars and workshops that are coming up. We've also got special events here. So maybe you went to a trade show or a conference and you met a lot of folks that you want to keep in touch with. So you are going to want to send a follow-up email, of course. This can be as simple as a personalized thank you, including a special deal or discount for meeting you in person. We do this as a follow-up to conferences. We'll send a follow-up and include a special free trial link with an industry template immediately applied or something to that effect. So if you have a newsletter or send regular email blasts, invite your new connections to sign up for that as well. And finally, we wanted to touch on this last one here, the cold email. So like a cold call, you either identified your target market online or bought a list of leads and want to start emailing them. The fact of the matter is, unsolicited bulk emails are considered spam, as I said earlier. So if you want to contact these folks, we suggest that you do it in a highly personalized manner and don't send these emails in bulk. So for example, emailing someone to say, I found you via the St. Louis Business Journal. Congratulations on your growth, but I wanted to ask you about your accounting services. Do you have time for a quick 10-minute phone call? This is when I'm free. That kind of email is totally fine. Emailing that exact text through an email marketing program to 100 or more people is unsolicited bulk email, again, spam and illegal. So if sending personalized emails to potential clients sounds tedious and hard, it probably is. However, it'll be more genuine, it'll solicit more opens, and it will also be legal. If you want to send bulk emails to the folks on your list, you'll need their permission, and MailChimp can solicit that permission for you. Another alternative here is to collect email signups on your website. So MailChimp has a sign-up form that you can embed into your website so that when someone signs up for your newsletter or email updates, you have their express permission to email them content. That's another good way to collect those emails. We do that as well, so that way we always have folks' permission before we send them something. Okay, and we are at the Q&A as I promised. We've covered all those basics. So Eunice, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you so we can go over those questions.
Absolutely. So the questions that we have coming in are predominantly about MailChimp and how Less Annoying CRM interacts with them. So one question that we've had here is, how do we support videos in emails? Is that a good idea? And is that something that we can do through MailChimp as well?
Yeah, so that's going to be on the MailChimp side. So I'm going to go ahead back here and go to MailChimp and go back so that you can see how to embed a video inside of an email. So you'll even see here that on the right-hand side here, when you're designing your email, they have a little video kind that you can drag and drop in. So I can go ahead and pick this up. Let's say I wanted to include a video of the webinar here. I would go ahead and put it there, and I can upload that video from my computer. Similarly, we send users a lot of links to videos in our emails, and we'll just include a link above in the body of the email. So that's totally possible. When that email gets logged to the CRM, of course, a live video won't play in the CRM, but you'll see after you send that email, if it's synced to the CRM, everyone that you emailed is going to get a tag, kind of like how email logging works right now on their record saying, oh, so-and-so received an email from us via MailChimp. Here's what the email looks like, and it'll just be a picture of that video instead. Eunice, I don't know if that answered that person's question or if there's anything else to add there.
That's usually the bulk of the question. But if you probably want to hop back to the main MailChimp page there that you had on, because we had another question about specific technicalities here, which is that if you were to do merge tags, does the CRM allow you to do merge, the CRM or MailChimp allow you to pass over information that's beyond first name, last name, and business name? Can we do merge tags other than that?
Yeah, so the way that the CRM works with MailChimp right now is that we are only passing over that name and that email address. If you want to get other information into MailChimp, it is possible, but what you're probably going to want to do here is first export your data from the CRM. So just pull up that group that you're syncing over and export all their data. If there's a field in there, so let's say I have a custom field for product or something like that they've bought from me in the past, I am going to go ahead and import that data into MailChimp in the same list. But instead of adding those subscribers again, we don't have to do that, right? MailChimp lets you update. So I can say, MailChimp, here are my subscribers, but I want to update this one field in MailChimp. I want that product data to go into MailChimp. I can do that really easily via import and then create a new merge tag for instead of first name, it might say, hi, Sally, you bought a merge tag for these products from me before. So that's pretty easy to do. We do that as well. So for example, with you guys, I imported information into MailChimp on whether or not you were able to make the final webinar, because we had some people sign up and then say, oh, I have a meeting or something like that come up. So I imported that data into MailChimp, even though it was already syncing with the CRM.
All right. Okay. And this next question is about how MailChimp interacts with Less Annoying CRM in terms of subscribers. And this is a pretty important question here. Don is asking, how does an unsubscribe on a MailChimp list work with the CRM here? How does that sync?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. So we touched on this a little bit, but like Anna said, it is very important. So if somebody unsubscribes from your list in MailChimp, in the group in the CRM, they're going to be kicked out of that group. They'll lose group membership. So what that means is your contact is still in the CRM, all of their data is there, but they are no longer going to be a member or a part of that group that is syncing over to MailChimp. So a way around this, and that's kind of what I suggested earlier with having the tag in your group saying that it's syncing with MailChimp, is, let's say you want to have a group of all of your past clients, and then you want to have a newsletter as well. So I would suggest duplicating that group so that there is a current client group in the CRM as well as a current client newsletter group in the CRM. Sync over just the newsletter group, so that way you still have a group of all your current clients, but you know which ones are actually reading the newsletter and which ones have unsubscribed.
Alrighty, and we've got one more question about MailChimp before we jump back to more high-level stuff about emails here. Bob wants to know, what are our thoughts on MailChimp and security, how they protect the data, and what they're doing to make sure that your data belongs to you?
Yeah, so, in all honesty, MailChimp it's just one of the biggest email marketing programs out there. It's a behemoth. It's used by a lot of small businesses. So I do trust their security simply because of the size there. As far as other security information, I know the way that we track and secure data in the CRM. We don't do data mining, that kind of thing. I am honestly not totally sure how MailChimp covers that information. So MailChimp has a really rich support site. So I'm sure if you typed in MailChimp security, MailChimp has a whole page devoted to that and how their data security works, as well as how they protect from data loss, corruption, and that kind of thing. So I can feel free to send this to Bob after the webinar as well.
And I think one important thing here too is that with any software that you use, you want to kind of look through their privacy policies as well. Every good software company will have their privacy policy out in public, and MailChimp has a pretty detailed one that's not really full of jargon. So just scrolling through that, they're not taking your data, they're not stealing your subscriber data or anything like that. That will belong to you. But there are some other details that they might want to skim over in terms of the emails that you generate here. They will have access to that because it's being stored on their account. But again, the biggest thing here is to check out the privacy policy on your own to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing with the data. But as Julia said, we use MailChimp on our own, and we trust them very well with our security and with the details that you guys share with us.
Yeah.
But all right, we got one last question here, and that's just about emailing in general. So a lot of people send out email blasts that include customer ads or information in their email campaigns. What is the best way to kind of organize that information in an email campaign that you send out that's useful to the customer?
Yeah, it really depends on how much is going to be in that campaign. We showed you this a little bit earlier, but in those example campaigns, somewhere as simple as, "Hi, I'm sending you my weekly newsletter. Here's our latest blog post. Thanks for reading it. Share it on Twitter." And in that case, there's not much to organize, right? It's a very friendly email that can just be said in sort of a normal way. But then take, for example, the newsletters that we send you guys, right, where there are usually 3 different posts. We have pictures for them. Sometimes there's, a special offer somewhere in there. And in that case, you probably want to put the most important stuff at the top, and like us, preview it in some way so that people know, as they're getting into this newsletter, what they're going to be getting, right? But that said, there are other newsletters that I receive and, have read about and whatnot in this market research, where they have almost the opposite strategy, right? They preview everything in the subject line, or let's say at the top of the email, but since there's so much in the email, it kind of requires you to look at the whole email to find what you want. We kind of go against this just so that it doesn't waste people's time, but it is a strategy to get people to read all the way to the end of your email, especially if everything in there is really action-packed and really valuable. For example, I receive an email from a content aggregation site called Pocket. And they include like 6 or 7 emails per article, and they might preview 3 in the subject line. And if I really want to read number 2 and it's the last article on the page, I've got to go all the way down, but that's not very far. That doesn't make me feel angry that I've had to do that. So I think the important thing here is just to preview your content if you've got a lot of it, either at the top of the email or in the subject line, and then make sure to organize it in a pleasing way so that if someone does have to scroll down, they don't mind scrolling past a few pretty pictures and titles to find exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, so with that question, I might have misinterpreted it a little, so sorry about that to whoever sent that question in. But the main point of that question, too, was that sometimes people also send out emails that offer to include customer ads and information about their customers in that newsletter. I'm guessing the question here is how to include ads in these newsletters. Is that a good thing? Should we do that? And how would you do it if you do choose to do that?
Yeah. So from experience, when we include customer info in our newsletter, it's almost always through some kind of newsletter, right? Or not newsletter, like an interview, and then we've written articles. So that's a benefit to us, in addition to this person who kind of wants to put themselves out there and talk about their business. So we don't mind, there's no downside to us posting that at the top of the email. You know what I mean? That's content that we created. It's ours. We own it. And it also is from a user who, wants to be included. As far as advertising goes, I would probably just suggest having a designated structure to your email. So when you're creating that email, MailChimp allows you to do this, not in the template that I just selected, but you can create a sidebar as well as add to this footer section down here, and create designated sizes for ads. So that way when you offer someone advertising space in your email, you can say this is exactly what you're getting. Here is where it would go, either on the sidebar or at the bottom, and you can charge based on that. But advertising aside, your email still has to be really valuable. It still has to be something that this person wants to receive. So finding space for an ad in an email isn't a big deal. Just to make sure that the email itself is still something that your reader wants, not just a bunch of ads, but content that they're actually going to read and want to receive. Okay, so I'm going to have to kind of cut us off on questions here, Eunice, if that's all right with you, just because we're reaching the end of our hour here. But I wanted to go on here and tell you a little bit about what you're going to get after this. We are also sending you an email course. So in addition to all these links and tutorials, we are going to send you, or you're going to send us your campaigns, actually. So we'd be more than happy to review those. So please feel free to send them to us. You'll get our emails at the end of this webinar here, and we can give you feedback. We can talk about your strategy and help you apply the techniques that we use today. You are also going to get an email deep dive into creating value for your audience. So we're going to show you how to do that. We're going to talk about A/B testing. That's that testing that we've talked about throughout here, in addition to sending you a couple other emails all about email marketing. So thanks again for watching this webinar, and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions before we send you that next email. Eunice and I are here as a resource. We're more than happy to chat with you guys, and many of you have already emailed us like you did before this webinar. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll email you very soon with all of the links that we promised from this webinar.